and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes that were broadcast on the iPlayer in the UK on the BBC from Monday the 12th to Friday the 16th of July. No hesitation, let's get him straight back on the show. It is Rob. Hello, Robert. How are you?
Alexander, how are you? I'm very well, very well. I'm a little bit tired this week because I work nights when I'm not recording, when I'm not on the podcast talking about EastEnders. I sometimes work nights and all that sort of thing. I did an extra one this week. And now my body clock is literally like, oh, good Christ, what have you done to yourself? So I'm a bit zoned out. So if I go into the realms of fantasy at some point today, then that's why. But other than that, I'm all right. You?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. I've reminded myself actually a couple of days ago of you. I think this was off the podcast. I always discuss things off the podcast. That you said that if you came into a lot of money, you would buy the rights to Thomas the Tank Engine and basically stop the modern rubbish.
That, yes, yes,
and bring it back to its roots, the roots of Tommy the Tank.
You hear that, boys?
And
Look what you could have. Look what you could have.
EP Rob for Thomas the Tank Engine. And I suddenly realised that they've started making a new Teletubbies because they released a tweet of them holding their new vaccine cards. And so last night I was curious to see what the new Teletubbies look like. And I went on YouTube and I searched for an episode of new Teletubbies. And it's exactly the same show. So it made me wonder, why have they... Yeah, it's identical. Because I thought, no, this must be an old episode. And then something...
Haven't they got kids now?
No, that's a spin-off. That's a cartoon series. Aren't they called the
spin-off of the Teletubbies
or something like that?
Teletubbies, the teenage pregnancy years.
that's an overnight special, isn't it?
Tubbyland After Dark.
The Teletubbies start taking caffeine pills to do an exam the next day.
Dipsy doing a line of coke off Nunu's bonnet, all that sort of thing. Tubby custom means something entirely different after 9pm. I tell you that for nothing.
I mean, give it time. But it made me, I don't know why, just a little thing in my head. It's like, they changed so many cartoons in our childhood, like Fireman Sam, Thomas the Tank Engine, Bob the Builder, and they're not the same shows anymore.
Oh, I know.
But with Teletubbies, they've seen the formula, it works, and they've not changed anything.
I should point out, because Alex neglected to mention this bit as to why I want to buy the rights to Thomas the Tank Engine, is because I can't believe you've made me talk about this on the podcast. You wait till we're off camera. I should mention that it's because I was obsessed with it as a child. I stopped watching it, the normal age that you stop watching kids programs. But I can't tell you how obsessed I was of it. I had the toys, I had every single video you could possibly name, everything. I had posters up, everything. I was obsessed. And now they've just changed it into this really childish CGI thing. I looked on I saw a clip of something on Twitter, and it was with all the CGI stuff they've done. Honest to God, this is literally an old man shouting at cloud mode I'm going into here. In our day, Alex, you'd have Ringo Starr, talking quite cheerfully, telling the kids a story. Not these days, I tell you that, but Thomas the Tank Engine zooming around singing a love ballad. And they've all got individual voices, but he wasn't just singing a love ballad, he was belting it out like Idina Menzel. It was ridiculous. Just proper going along the track, belting it out. I was not impressed. So yeah, if I was a millionaire, I'd buy the rights to that and fix it. There you go.
Wow. I think I've let off a firework here. When we first discussed it, you were fairly calm about the whole situation.
I hate what they've done to kids. I hate what they've done to kids' shows these days, honest to God.
But Rob, you're not a child anymore. It's not aimed at you anymore.
I know! But I refuse to believe that the things that I used to get in that show that I was so entranced by as a 4-year-old, that you wouldn't show that to a 4-year-old now and they wouldn't still be as visually entranced by it as I was as a 4-year-old. Come on, it's not like I'm trying to revert back to the days of Bagpuss when you were a kid.
Wait, calm down here. When I was a child and the new flashy orange channel Nickelodeon came along, I remember my mum and dad used to see me watching these Nickelodeon programs, which if you watch the 90s programs, they're really tame compared to today's, whatever Disney Channel churns out. And my mum and dad would be there and say, this is it, this is the ruin of a young generation, they're going to be completely destroyed. So it is an old man shouting at cloud. It's not aimed at us anymore, Rob. We just have to acknowledge that. Yes, they were better, but we were younger, so they were better.
Right, so we'll turn EastEnders CGI, shall we? Imagine Phil Mitchell in four-dimensional animation. That'd be brilliant, yeah.
You joke about that, but I said to Ben, wouldn't it be hilarious if one day we turn on EastEnders and the intro sequence is basically like Hollyoaks, where you basically have the theme tune playing and you just see them all in crazy situations around Albert Square.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
I think we've gone off tangent yet again. But anyway, let's talk about this week's EastEnders. But before we do any of that, a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, don't forget to follow us on our social media at Walford Weekly and on our Facebook group. And we're really looking for people to send in pictures that I can maybe put on this white void behind me if you're watching this on the YouTube channel. So if you have an artistic flair or just want to just draw a picture of anything, EastEnders related or anything at all, a bit like children's television used to do when they used to have the broom cupboard and they used to have your kids' pictures in the background.
Not anymore.
Then please send them to us. Send them to us. You can send them to an email as well, alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com, or to robwalfordweekly@gmail.com, and we will put up all of the ones that we got. So I've got a bit of an interesting background because I just think it's a bit boring, a bit of a void, isn't it, behind me. So
and if you know any painters, send them round my way.
And if you enjoy the show and you fancy just throwing a few coins our way just to help us continue making the video podcast for you guys and keeping our YouTube channel, which has spoilers, and catch up with Kath with Ben, and our new podcast, The Walford, churning along and keeping on going, then please support us on our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Walford Weekly. Right, here we go then. So this week's EastEnders, and another cracking week. Really enjoyed it yet again. And we're going to start off with probably the story that a lot of people have been talking about. Everybody's talking about it. The old tagline of EastEnders, and that is the Isaac and his schizophrenia story. And it's basically, this was the big moment. This was the one when he had his full-on break, and a lot of people were trying to help him, support him. Sheree was getting called out by Patrick and Kim that they need outside help. Sheree continuously was adamant that she could look after Isaac. She's done it once, she's done it before. She can do it again. She didn't want Lola to have any part of it at all, although Lola seemed to be the moment that kind of helped Isaac out this week. I mean, the elephant in the room is that John Sen pretty much spent his month's budget on special effects on 2 minutes of an episode where you just saw Isaac kind of leaving the house. Whether you like it or love it, it's very much a Marmite thing. We could talk about it probably for a whole hour-long podcast. But let's first of all talk about the story itself. How did you feel? Did you feel it was addressed very well? Do you feel like it could have been done better? Was there some moments that you thought were perfect? Some was not so much? How did you feel about the story?
I really enjoyed the Isaac stuff this week. I think, for a start, Stevie Basula, if that's how you pronounce his name, I hope I got that right. But Stevie, welcome to EastEnders. Great performance this week. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really stepped up to the plate to do these scenes this week, I thought. I think me and you are going to differ on this because, for the most part, I thought his breakdown scenes were actually done very well. The voicings, all the voices and stuff. The thing is, what I was worried about with the voices and the way that do you know what it is? I think because I was fully expecting it to go a little bit sort of crazy on screen. I would have been more surprised if it hadn't, basically. So the fact that I think I was prepared for it. There was a moment, don't get me wrong, there was a moment this week with special effects that I sure as hell wasn't expecting, and we'll come to that later on in the podcast. But as far as the Isaac story was concerned, for the majority of it, I didn't think the slow motion part was particularly necessary. But apart from that, for the most part, the voices were done really well because, you know, what I was really worried about them doing was having some bloke doing devil voices into a microphone and making it sound really sort of over the top. Whereas the voices, you know, if you look into how people who go through this sort of thing, it is literally like a normal person coming at you from all different angles in your head, which I think is actually how it came across. You know, lots of different voices saying that you're in danger, saying that nobody else can be trusted, saying that, you know, all of this stuff just constantly, it's like a barrage of different mad moments going on in your head. So I think they portrayed that quite well. And then obviously it led into, you know, he broke a bottle and then went outside. Now the tasering thing, what did you think? Because I saw a bit of a sort of mixture to that. And I thought, well, this is, I think what how they made it come across was, you know, Jack said, I think that the police officer was a bit inexperienced and that, you know, he'd been spoken to and all that sort of thing, which was, I don't know. At the end of it, you know, you've got someone coming towards you with a broken bottle and who was experiencing a mental break. So, you know, what is the correct thing to do in that regard?
Was he, though? Was Isaac going toward him with the bottle? Because as far as I could see, as far as it was filmed for me, I think Patrick was entirely in his rights to say to Jack about the police force that they went in far too heavily, far too much of an attack there. I don't think the taser was necessary. Perhaps later on, if then Isaac had gone forward and attacked him, it would have been a bit more necessary. But I don't feel in that situation it was at all necessary. And whether it was to do with race, I do not know. I feel when Patrick said, you know, what would have that been a white person? Would you have then gone with the same kind of way forward with it? I was inclined to agree with Patrick on that one because I don't think they would have. And I actually quite liked. This is the moment where I actually thought, this is the story that I wanted them to tell a bit more with Keegan, you know. And it's interesting that perhaps maybe they didn't have Keegan kind of watching on from the sides as well and kind of being there, seeing this happening when Isaac had been brought on. I mean, the police were constantly like. I know that the Walford police are quite incapable anyway. Facts, you know, it's just one of those things. But it's just that they didn't seem to have a handle on the situation at all, and it felt like it was more of a mob mentality that the police were being led by for what they then ultimately ended up tasering Isaac for, rather than him being a danger to people, because they were constantly getting told by Ruby, by Martin, like the kids, and you know, he should be locked up, and you know, a lot of the crowd were kind of saying that. And again, that's probably a good reflection of perhaps how, if someone is panicked, a police officer isn't properly trained, that is something they could perhaps do. But I mean, I'm glad they did it because it kind of made me think, like, well, why wasn't a police officer trained properly, and why did Jack? It's just the kind of like the brushed off way that Jack said, it's been investigated and it's been decided that he did nothing wrong. And it's like, well, yeah, fair. But they also said that about Keegan and you went against that immediately. Yeah. So what makes this situation any different other than Isaac has a mental health problem? You know, I didn't like that. I personally thought it wasn't, it was fair on Isaac. From the information that I saw on screen.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was up for dispute that the tasering was unnecessary. I think for me, you know, to be honest with you, I didn't think of it in terms of race until Patrick mentioned it. I thought it was literally just because the police it didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me at all until Patrick mentioned it to Jack. I thought it was literally just the Walford police being useless as usual, and like, you know, the fact that it was clearly an inexperienced police officer, which is the first thing that Jack said. So I just assumed that that's what it was, and you know, that's what had happened. You know, yeah, it's possible that that's the route that they kind of meant to go down, but for me, that wasn't immediately clear. But either way, Isaac ends up in hospital and ultimately ends up getting sectioned. Now, we've come, I think, quite a long way in a week, but that's not necessarily criticism because this kind of thing can happen very, very quickly and very, very scarily. Now, my real bone of contention for the week was Sheree. I'm not entirely sure where her mindset is at the minute. I don't understand why she is so against, like, Isaac receiving medical help. I don't see why she's, like... Are we supposed to think that because he didn't deal well with it last time, she's trying to protect him from that, despite the fact that that's clearly the best place for him to be? Especially when he was talking to Patrick about, oh, don't worry, I'll be with Paul soon and everything will be fine. So experiencing suicidal thoughts, which basically is the way to get yourself sectioned. If, you know, in that situation, if you say that, then that you're pretty much there, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like what they've done with the character of Sheree at the moment, because she used to be... I get that the situation doesn't really warrant her to be this kind of fun-loving, almost party, you know, young love for Patrick. I get that it's not going to work for this storyline right now. But they've kind of given her a kind of a personality change slightly, where she's become a little bit selfish and self-contained. Now, I can kind of get it really where she said in a couple of weeks ago that she's always had to look after Isaac herself. But she's not been abundant with help from anyone. But every time anyone kind of gives her any kind of advice or help, she's just immediately throwing it away. And I think that's a real bad trait for Sheree. Like you say, it seems very strange that Sheree seems to not want anyone to kind of get involved with her Isaac's care. I get it with Lola. I do get it with Lola. As much as Lola had been really helpful this week, and when she spoke to Isaac through the letterbox, and the voices started saying you can trust her, and so there's obviously a relationship there that can be built on between Isaac and Lola, and maybe in the future Sheree. But Patrick's not really done anything, or Kim or Denise, to kind of give the indication that really they shouldn't be trusted for help, or at least being sounded out. So yeah, I'm a bit upset with how they're playing Sheree at the moment. It's a hard one because obviously it's not something when we've been in this situation. I know I bring up this storyline, but it's too difficult not to compare it with Joe. And when Joe was brought into, he got sectioned as well. And, his mum ultimately didn't want that to happen either because she felt like it was the wrong thing to do, and that love will conquer all, and that her relationship with her son would be better. It's just that you did feel for her for that, but with Sheree, I don't feel for her just yet about it. I'm more worried about Isaac getting the care.
Yeah, I think the thing is, but the difference with the Joe storyline is it Lorraine, his mum? I think. Obviously, with the Joe storyline, it was everything was happening right from the start. So Lorraine didn't really know what was going on. It was a kind of mystery about what exactly we knew what was going on, but the characters around him didn't have any idea what was going on with him, and he was just going slightly crazy in front of their eyes, sort of thing. Whereas Isaac has come in as an established schizophrenic, and we've been told that all of this has happened before. Sheree has been in this situation before, which really should suggest that she should be better at it by this time. She should be like, right, okay, learn from what happened last time, learn from any mistakes I might have made last time, and kind of apply them differently when it happens again. What I thought was interesting, and actually sort of leads into what happened with the police and the tasering, was what I was kind of hoping for with this story, because what I was worried about was something like a massive issue as a schizophrenic having a mental breakdown. I didn't want it to sort of come across as just an ordinary day in Albert Square. Do you know what I mean? Like how, like some of the, and the rest of the characters just don't really react to it. Oh, okay, paranoid, schizophrenic having a meltdown. Great, it's Tuesday. Why not? And what you actually had in the Vic was a conversation, like typical of Phil. My kid's in the house with that nutter. Blah blah blah. Ooh, yeah. The sort of thing you would totally expect with Phil. Not really surprising whatsoever. And to be honest, the perfect character to do that with, because let's be honest, Phil mentally is about 108 and has no idea about anything remotely sort of mental healthy or anything like that. But I do wonder if that's sort of stigma that's attached, because Kim has been worried about having her kids in the house, which is that where they are, Kim? Because we haven't seen them. And I wonder if that's
saw her pushing out a pram today in the cafe.
We don't know if there's any kids in it though. She could just be wandering around the square.
There was no one in it.
No.
It was like a giant watermelon.
Yeah, could be. Balloon with like a bonnet on top. What's I going to say? Yeah, and so, I wonder if maybe the stigma and sort of attitudes towards people with schizophrenia was supposed to be that we're looking at it, and that attitude hasn't gone away even in terms of the police. Like, how well are the police trained in a situation like this? Is that something to have a conversation about as well? So this is what I mean when I said that it wasn't immediately apparent to me that race would have been was the main crux of the situation. It could have been a whole sort of number of things, including, mistraining and misunderstanding of the situation. So, but, on the whole, I would say that it was actually done pretty well this week. I think, it's very easy to compare it to 1995 and the Joe Wicks and Jill.
97.
And 97. I'm so sorry, Alex. Alex, EastEnders Wikipedia over here. I'm so sorry. Do you know what I mean? It's very easy to compare it to that. But I also think, hate to say it, but it was 20. I've seen a few people on social media going, "Oh, well, this is nowhere near as good as the storyline 25 years ago." And it's like, well, it's not going to be, is it?
Yeah.
Because this show was quite a different beast back then, and it was watched by 17 million people, and we also have a massive nostalgia growing up with it because it's the first time. That's a number, yeah, it is. That only EastEnders was ever capable of pulling in, and and there's a nostalgia attached to it. So is it comparable? It's two storylines about schizophrenia. I think maybe sometimes you have to separate yourself away, because then if you're going to do that, you're going to compare every single affair story to Sharongate. You know what I mean? You're going to compare every single explosion that ever happens to the show to when Steve died in his car crash. It's the second time I think that the show has tackled schizophrenia. Like, give them a break. Yes, it's not going to be as absolutely mind and awe-inspiring to us 25 years ago when we were watching it in the 90s, but we've all grown since then. So I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is actually, to be fair, I think it's fair to compare them, but I would never compare what's happening right now disagreeable with what they've actually made. I don't actually think what they've done is bad. Yes, they've had a few sound effect issues that perhaps I might not be too happy about, but that's fine. I mean, it's just that it's difficult not to compare things with 1997 though, because there's so many stories right now that are stories that, if you're watching classic EastEnders on Drama Channel right now, are comparable. And it just feels like they kind of went into the archives and went, all right, let's do a few stories from 97. That was quite a good era. Let's just do some from there. Who knows? But like I say, I don't dislike the story, and I actually quite, as you say, I think that Isaac is an interesting story to tell. And they're doing it well. I mean, the Mind charity has said, they're fully support, and they've had people on set talking to them about it. So it's being reflected honestly. It's difficult to not compare it to 97. But the reason I compare it is because it was done quite differently, though, in some aspects. Like the way Joe was discovered was much different to the way Isaac was discovered. I mean, we said that Isaac had that shed with the string and all the Ruby's possessions inside the shed, while it was done a bit with Joe. It was done a bit differently, where he had a whole bedroom, and they're panning around. So it's been done differently, and it's kind of channeled to the same result, which is where they're now both being sectioned, and what help can they now get, and what from here. So yeah, I mean, there's more to tell, and I think it's something they'll definitely have to stick to. We'll have to wait and see. I'll be interested to see if they actually kind of go more into Isaac's time in the hospital, because they never really touched that. You only saw the aftermath from Lorraine's perspective, not so much from Joe's perspective. So perhaps if they did that, that would be a way of kind of distinguishing one from the other.
Yeah, well, we seem to be led to believe that the last time Isaac was sectioned was an incredibly traumatic period of his life, and there was something, I'm not saying that there was anything sort of odd going on in while he was being, but he didn't deal with it well, effectively, is what we've been told. So I wouldn't mind seeing kind of what is. It would be interesting to kind of see what goes on, because I don't think they've really tackled that before. We've had a few characters sectioned over the years. I think recently Stacey was the last person to get sectioned. Imagine that in one square. It was the last person to get sectioned on this square. Oh, Stacey's it's like a few years ago, so I'd be quite interested to see sort of what goes on, and that's in that side of the ward. I don't know if they will, but then of course, what's going to happen is when he comes out, are we just going to have Isaac back to normal again? Is there going to be more knock-on effects? Is he going to be completely sorted? And what do you think?
You say Stacey. I think wasn't Hayley the last person to be sectioned, and they kind of touched on her time in hospital, didn't they?
I mean, probably literally everything happened to Hayley in the space of a year, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was just something that happened to Hayley that year.
Just another tick box, isn't it? Yeah, for Hayley's later.
Yeah.
Let's have a little chat about Gray and Chelsea, because their relationship has blossomed somewhat recently. Gray seems to be neglecting his children, which is upsetting Mitch and Karen. They feel like Karen feels like Gray should move on, but perhaps the way he's moving on isn't the appropriate way of doing it. Mitch has a word with Gray, and Gray pretty much says to him, "Shut up, Mitch," which was just fine. But then Gray and Chelsea went to a party where his boss Laura starts to belittle him, which is a very dangerous road to take, especially since Laura seems to know, because she says, don't think he's like this great white saviour who's going to save you. He's going to model you and mould you, and I don't want him to get away with it again. That's what Laura said to Chelsea as very a warning. So Lauren must know something about Gray, or more than she's able to legally attach to him. So I don't know. I think Laura's in a lot of trouble.
I tell you what, Laura, we like Laura. Laura's an absolute queen. Liked her a lot this week. She just sort of I use that. She's great. I mean, we'll touch on it briefly and then we'll move on. What the hell was the little party scene when, Gray was getting drunk and we had Gray doing like slow-mo dancing? And is there a thing when you've got to, like, when you're showing someone getting drunk on soaps these days, you've got to have a camera angle from above whilst they're downing a shot? Is that supposed to be our view from the moral high ground and advertise that binge drinking is wrong? Is that what it's supposed to be?
We're God looking at them.
Yeah, wrong.
Someone on Twitter cracked me up because they said that they basically used the same camera and setup as Roxy's wedding, Ronnie and Roxy's wedding, or Ronnie's wedding, when Ronnie and Roxy were having the party and they had all those slow motion camera shots like that going around the thing. I know, rest in peace, Ronnie and Roxy. But and then they died. So foreshadowing for Laura. But I did forget about that party scene. But Laura really did crank it up to Gray, didn't she? She really belittled him, like made him feel like that big throughout.
Well, she did, but I thought it was quite a leap, not a leap. It was a massive sort of like expansion for Laura's character, because the size we've seen Laura up to now, I have a feeling that she's probably going to be Gray's next victim, mind. But she's sort of been somebody that seems to just it's pretty much somebody that seems to irritate Gray, but like doesn't seem to really care about him all that much. Almost like it was something she was someone that he almost aspired to be in some respects. But now Laura seems to be like, her main aim seems to be like to bring Gray down. She absolutely can't stand him. She wants him off all cases. There was a time, I swear, when Laura would come in and like was trying to be supportive, like, come back to work when you're ready. You've just lost your wife and all of this sort of thing. And now she knows stuff about Gray, and it's like she's the only person that seems to know what he's really like at the minute, which seems to be a little bit out of left field. But hey, she's standing there in Gray's hallway, telling Chelsea everything that she needs to know about him in the sassiest way possible, and then sort of like striding away. Please, plenty more Laura. I massively approve of her.
The thing is, as much as I would love Laura to come back, I don't think there's much time for her on the square. I mean, this is the first time, I think, that we've seen, because at the end, first of all, they used Twitter as a company, which shocked me. He used Searchwise to find Twitter.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Ray's got an alt account.
He's got an alternative account. He's a bit of a troll, and he used a VPN. So this is the first time that for Gray that I think he's actually premeditating a murder. Like Chantel was an accident.
Chantel was an accident.
The others have been an accident. Was Kush an accident?
Right, Kush wasn't an accident in any way. No, he helped him up and then deliberately pushed him in front of a train, Alex.
Yeah, but no. But then he chose not to help him, didn't he? Or did he actually? I forget now. I thought Kush was on the rail.
No, because they both Gray fell into the rail, and then Kush helped him out, and then Gray pushed him back inside it, looked down the line. Oh, there's a train coming. Goodbye, Kush, and like kind of pushed him, and then Kush was Kush kebabbed. So that was beautiful. I don't know if he went to the train station with the idea of murdering Kush, but either way, that wasn't an accident in any way, shape, or form. No.
Yeah, but so there wasn't premeditated though. He didn't sit like the night before thinking, right, the train comes by at 12:45. If I get there for 12:40, we have a little fight. I could then push him in front of the train. He would be dead. So it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't planned very far before that actually happened.
Kid's bladder should be full by about that time. So Whitney needs to take him to the loo around that time. Perfect, yeah.
buy them an apple juice, a box of apple juice. They should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this for Laura, it feels like this is the. So for Laura, this feels like the first time where he's actually. Almost, he's given her a threat straight away. And yes, he threatened Kush in the past, and he threatened, everyone else. But this is, you know what I mean? This seems to be the first time he's actually now, his little cogs are going, you know what, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to get you. This is one I am going to do, and I'm planning it. So he's gone from being a little bit like accidental killer to now actually making sure that people who get in his way. Yeah, a serial killer. Yeah, won't actually get away with it anymore. I don't know. Again, this is a bit of a turn with what Grey's character had originally obviously intended to become, which was the abusive storyline. Do you think that they're right to carry on down this road, or are they kind of almost put themselves into a corner now that there is no return?
Oh yeah,
they have to do this now. With story?
They have to now, don't they? They have to, and to be fair, they had to do it once Tina had been killed off. Everything else is just sort of like, we're in sort of serial killer soap territory. We've ranted about the way that the story has gone. We've got an entire video on our YouTube channel that an opinion piece about how this story has gone, but yeah, I think now it's just a case of just sort of waiting for the big sort of climax to Grey the serial killer story. Where Chelsea will come into it, I don't know, because what do you reckon? Because I don't know whether Chelsea is Chelsea going to bring him down or be sort of instrumental in bringing him down? Has Whitney's involvement in the whole story completely disappeared now? Like, what? Who knows? I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
But I don't think. But either way, Laura is going to get squished by some sort of vehicle, or get chopped in half, or get run over by a car, or get pushed off a bridge, or drown, or get thrown on top of a dishwasher, or get thrown in, or get trapped in a washing machine, or something horrific something straight out of Midsummer Murders is going to happen to her very soon. Is my suspicion.
Very much so. So next up then is Peter and Ash. Did you know they were dating? Because I completely forgot.
No, I didn't know they knew each other.
No. I mean, their relationship is over now, but I think Peter's adamant that he still loves Ash, even though he didn't show any kind of concern. He did explain, though, he did say the reason why he didn't really want to have any kind of involvement with mourning Jags' death with Ash. And that is because it brought back too many memories of Lucy and Lucy's death, and he just couldn't really handle that kind of that repeating again, which I thought was a bit of a cop-out. I get it, but a bit of a cop-out.
But it's a sign of how disconnected I have found this version of Peter to be, that I didn't make the connection that they've both had siblings taken away from them in pretty similar ways. I did not make that connection at all until Peter sat down. I was like, oh my God, yeah, you have that in common. Didn't occur to me whatsoever. Now, we spent the majority, last week when we were talking about Peter singing his praises, was being completely aware that it was probably going to be a single event in the week, and we'd be back to hating him the next time we spoke about him. And he delivered in full form this week when he was sat on the sofa. Kath, Bobby, by the way, is taken to completely insulting Peter, which I'm fully behind. And everyone's just saying that Peter's just this Neanderthal thug who is just a complete idiot. And he was literally kind of sat there going, oh, I don't care, she lost a brother, boo-hoo. It's like, what is this incarnation, whatever the phrase is, of Peter? It's just, But Ash, finally turn around to her and go away. I don't need you in my life. You've been absolutely useless. Go away. You're pointless. You're being here. And Asher is, she's trying to sort out the funeral on her own because Suki's, overcome with grief, and it's just not working. So, and yeah, like you say, because I don't know if they have really split up, because they end the week with them sat down in the cafe and Peter, spilling his guts out and saying, oh, it's all about Lucy, so I will step up. So I think they are pretty much repaired now, aren't they? And Peter's going to be all instrumental in the funeral and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a relationship that no one, everyone said, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that was actually happening. So it's obviously not really worth trying to mend anyway. It just felt like it was an opportunity here just to kind of have a clean break with Peter and Ash, and give Ash something a bit more interesting to put her teeth into. And also, Peter, his other than Ash, his only other reason to like exist on the square right now is his personal training, and even that time seems to be just kind of.
And he's not even bothered with that.
So it just. No, that's it. So I'm really worried about what are they planning with Peter? Because obviously Peter is this big character, really, essentially, a legacy character. And normally when they bring a legacy character back, they got big plans for them. And they're just... What? Go on.
I tell you what, though. You called it, Kath, when she said to Peter, "Oh, you're turning it straight into your father, aren't you? And not the business side of things." You clever little lad, you called that, didn't you? Well done.
I'm a clever little sausage sometimes.
You are a clever little sausage. My mouth dropped open when she said that at the TV. I was like, oh, well, here we go. I'm not going to hear the end of that next week, am I? Well done.
To be fair, I had written it as a note.
Yeah, I bet you did. Underlined in bold letters, circled in red pen. Yes.
Yeah. No. But yes. Kathy quite rightly compared Peter to the way his father is, which is good. I mean, it shows that they kind of remembered the bloodline, and that he is the son of Ian Bill, and there is that. Kind of makes me worry a little bit more of whether Ian Bill is going to return to the square anytime soon, because they're going to make Peter the new Ian Bill, if that's the direction they're planning to take him. No, but you know what I mean. It's like they've done more with Chelsea, who I would say is a legacy character because it's Denise's daughter. I know Denise has been from the beginning, but Denise has been on the show for long enough. They've done more with her since her return. And yes, it's questionable whether one of the very first stories she returned to was, it is what it is, that we used to say that every time that we talk about it. But they don't seem to be doing anything with Peter. And then they finally made the amends with Bobby, and it feels like it's safe for Bobby now to be horrible to his brother Peter. It's like they need to now give him something to put his teeth into. Give Peter a story, because I'm sure the actor is talented enough to do something. Surely.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, like with him and Ash, they had Dana and Bobby sat there kind of gossiping about them in the cafe, and they go, "Oh, it's love. Look at the pair of them." It's like, what do you mean it's love? Love? It's not love. Like, they barely spent 5 minutes together, and like the first week in which they were supposedly getting together, Peter was getting a blowjob off his other mother. So how in any way is that love? You know what I mean? Am I wrong? Sorry, but oh, come on. That essential. Do you want to see how well I use my mouth? What else was she going to do? Give him mouth to mouth? Teach him mouth to mouth resuscitation? I think not, Alexander. Come on.
Let's talk about Suki now, shall we? Suki and Honey, I must say this week. Suki and Honey, I must say this week, had some tremendous scenes together, and I love this friendship that's growing between them. And again, it feels so real. I mean, first thing I want to point out is Ash did mention this week that Vinny has been useless. And when Honey went to get the keys for the Suki Mart, or the Minute Mart, so she could open up, because Suki hasn't been opening up the shop recently, she noticed that the toast was burnt. Vinny had already buttered the toast, but then said, "Oh, don't worry, she can scrape it off." Now, you can't scrape off the burnt bits of toast once you've buttered it. So I don't know if it was intentional, but that really did solidify the fact that Vinny has been quite useless during this whole time while Suki has been mourning and Ash has been organising everything. It's like a very strange moment. I bet there are numerous
or not. I don't know, but I bet there are numerous like broken plates and toast, like just corpses, just parade around Suki's bedroom right now. What is this? Useless son! And just thrown them against the wall. That's what I'd do.
More useless toast.
Just black, decayed crusts just everywhere. You can't even cook toast.
Burns off the mould.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. She'll eat it. She's hungry, she'll eat it. But no, so Honey has reopened the Minute Mart.
Yes.
And she's keeping the business running for her, out of sympathy, knowing that Suki can't be supported, needs supporting right now. She also made Suki a pie, and my heart melted at that moment when you saw Honey put the pie on the doorstep, knocked on the door. Didn't want any praise for giving her that pie. She just kind of hid around the corner, hid around the tree just to see if she got it. And it's just the way that Suki came outside, picked up the pie, and you just saw her. She just kind of stood there and she went, and it was like for one moment,
chicken.
like the weight of the world. Yeah. Bisto. And then for that one moment, the weight of the world kind of lifted from her shoulders.
I know. I don't have to cook Vinny's food tonight. I don't have to eat Vinny's food.
She'll probably give Vinny the already cooked pie.
Yeah.
Then Vinny will put it in the oven, and
then he put it back in the oven.
What's this? yeah. And keep it in the oven to stay warm. No, Vinny, that's not what you do. Stop it, Vinny.
Bless him.
But it was just some really truly beautiful moments between Suki and Honey this week. And when Suki returned to work, had a go at Honey. Honey just kind of knew what Suki's like.
Took a
deep breath, and then at the end of her shift, Suki apologised by giving some chocolate bars to Honey, and then they had that conversation. And I loved the moment when Honey said, "Oh, I made the pie." And she, "Oh, you made the pie? That's really sweet." And she went, "Oh, yes, I used a special recipe." And she started going, it being Honey, started going into this moment where she's going to explain how she made the pie. And Suki. Yeah, and then Suki just went, "That's enough, Honey. You can go home." It's like,
you can go now. You've done your bit.
Portrayed,
brilliant.
Perfectly written.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's just spot on. Honestly, spot on moments today for those moments. Yeah. I mean, we always gush about the Panesars, but I just had to gush about those moments because they were small moments, could have been forgotten moments, could have just been incidental, and they weren't. And they almost kind of... First of all, they reminded you that Jags had been murdered and this terrible thing had happened, which is very rare for EastEnders that they carry on something this long. And it was just, again, Emma and Balvinda just performed perfectly between them, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a friendship between them two. I feel like
they're so different.
Honey is going to be like the light, to Suki's shade, and it's like the yin yang of them.
It's that perfect sort of combination, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's that perfect combination that we get now and again on EastEnders with those sorts of complete chalk and cheese friendships. You know, you think of Shirley and Heather, for example, like two completely different people. In some ways, Pat and Peggy. You know, because they are so like far apart in terms of personality. You know, Suki is basically just like this walking chip of ice going around, whereas Honey is just, as her name suggests, you know, so sort of warm and, you know, just a little bit ditzy, and, you know, the malapropisms left, right and centre and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I love watching Honey and Suki together. I think they're a great pairing. So yeah, more of that. But yeah, I know I loved everything about the Panesar story this week, as I often do. But yeah, the pie stuff was absolutely brilliant because it was just so normal and so character led. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing there to push plot forward. It was there purely for character purposes, which seems to be something that we get a lot more rarely than we should do on EastEnders these days, you know, and I love that sort of thing. You know, it doesn't need to, I know what you mean, it doesn't need to be everywhere, but now and again we want something that just goes throughout the week with just character stuff, and it was brilliant and beautifully written, beautifully portrayed. Yes, well done EastEnders, well done.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Phil and Tommy. Phil has a football star in his midst. He's desperate for this football star, isn't he? I know, he is desperate for a lad to play football for him. And he's now got Tommy in, what is it, Walford FC's training camp scheme?
Okay.
You know, he needs to focus more on the school side. But then when Kim started kind of pulling out her chest and, you know, ruffling her feathers, saying about how her daughter, the daughter we've not seen since she's returned, is doing at school, and how all the kids, all the teachers are saying how perfect she is. Yes.
Yeah, you know when Kim returned and she entered like, oh, bonjour, la la la. Basically, that's what Hope did when she entered the creche. And her first day, and oh, bonjour, la la, and just like walked around with her.
Wee.
Bonjour.
Save the telephone.
Good boy, you did a wee. Well done, yes.
Oh, le telephone.
Bonjour.
So she's a gifted child, is old Pearl, and Kat saw that as almost like red rag to a bull. She was like, oh, well, Tommy's gifted too, so yes, of course she should go for this football scholarship, and he's got it. So, yeah, I mean, Phil's basically got the son he wants. How's this going to reflect Raymond? Because there was also, I think, didn't Denise get the papers this week as well from Phil, demanding that he should have as much rights to see Raymond. Yeah. So, what's that going to happen?
Apparently,
with the
Richie's back on the case. Richie's back on the case, and we know how close Richie and Raymond became. So, I love it. Do you remember when literally Raymond, like Richie had to go and collect Raymond from, the foster home or something, and she was like, I don't do kids. Get out of my car. Brilliant. I loved it. So I hope we get more of that. I think that Richie is literally Phil's only hope. Because it's like we said last week when we were discussing it, like Phil hasn't got a cat and hell's chance of this. It's all the technicalities, like we said. It was all been signed over to Denise. When Ellie, the scary gangster granny, was doing her thing for a week. It's Phil literally hasn't got a cat in hell's chance. So Richie is literally his only saving grace. She will pull some miraculous strings that only Richie can get hold of, and presumably then we'll have a battle. I don't know how she's going to do this. I don't know whether she's going to bring like Lucas into the equation or what. God, I hope not. But whatever she's going to do, I don't know how it's going to work. But yeah, the thing is though, it's just going back to the Tommy and the Cat and the Phil thing, and it almost irritates me how well Cat and Phil are working together at the moment, because I love their scenes. I shouldn't be liking them, and I feel like I've been forced into liking them, but I absolutely love them together. And I love Kat's sort of role at the moment. I tell you what, she's upping the vamp. Have you noticed in some of the outfits she's wearing? I don't know if it's just because Philip's got, kinks and all that sort of thing, but we are proper back into sort of Kat Slater, with her clothes all on display and wearing what the outfit she had on during this week. I can't remember. It was like this. It was almost like blue leopard print, wasn't it? Like boobs all like this. Yes, perfect. I love Kat like this.
Oh yeah,
it's vamp essentially, isn't it? She's just a vamp growing, and she's going to grow old into a cougar in and just go down the same path as Sharon has. And I can't wait for another 10 years when Kat starts having an affair with a 19-year-old. Can't wait. It's going to be brilliant. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this Raymond thing's going to play out, because Raymond's a cute little kid, and if Richie's back on the case, that means we get to see Richie again, and I love seeing Richie because Richie's like literally my favourite side character. Love Richie. So, and can I just say, the colour of Richie's hair is what I always try and go for. It never works, and this is the closest it's ever been. That's.
Oh, is that the Richie? Is it? It's like the Rachel of the 90s. You go for the Richie of the 2020s.
Yes, I do. I will say, just off the moment of my hair, thank you very much for the guy in the comments section on YouTube last week that said I looked like, what was his name? Some footballer, Phil.
Oh yeah,
or Foder or something like that. Yeah, I had to Google him, obviously. But yeah, so I didn't have a clue. I sent a picture to Alex going, I look like this. This is somebody in the comments section who said this. The reason I'm saying this is my hairdresser. I said this to you, wouldn't I? My hairdresser was called Whitney. Now, there are two people that I've known in my life called Whitney. One, Houston, and the other one from EastEnders. I had no idea at all that real people were called Whitney. But I finally met a Whitney, and she did my hair. So, up the Whitneys, I say. I told you I was going to go into the realms of fantasy with lack of sleep, didn't I?
Fair enough. Yeah, so we'll see, but I hope that they don't forget the dyslexia storyline with Tommy. That's the only thing I would say, because I think, again, that's a story that is quite. They haven't, but I just worry that they're gonna. I would like it to somehow interfere with his kind of, his scholarship. Perhaps the school says that he can't carry on doing this football scholarship if he doesn't improve his grades at school. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who thinks that basically everyone should get a tip-top education and that's the only way forward to getting on in life. Of course it isn't. Some people are just more academic than other people. Some people are better with their hands. Some people are better with, making woodwork and building houses and stuff like that. It's different strokes, different folks, But I don't want them to forget, because I think for young people who might be watching the soap, a dyslexia storyline would be quite helpful to them if they were to keep it going, maybe. But we'll have to wait and see. Something last week where we were a bit off with is the Billy story. So you and I both predicted that line that that Phil said to him is like, "Oh, you stink, Billy. Get yourself a shower." We knew there was something to do there. We knew it wasn't just a throwaway line, but we thought perhaps it was depression story. Perhaps they were going down a route for Billy with depression. But actually, as it happens, Billy is homeless and he is nowhere to stay. And so he's staying in the porter cabin at the car lot. I don't know, how did he get the keys for that, by the way? The only thing I could think of
I was going to ask, who owns that at the minute? I feel like it's been ages since we've seen the inside of the car lot.
Well, it's Jay, isn't it? So that's the only way I could think of it. Maybe he got a key cut from Jay's set, and that's how he got in there. But Jay's running it now, isn't he? Because he left the funeral parlour for Stuart to look after with Rainey.
Yeah, it doesn't seem beyond the realms of possibility for Billy to be able to get a key for that place, but yeah, maybe. This is the thing, because we've barely seen hide nor hair of Jay for months and months and months, apart from, the honey thing. It's been. I was talking to someone about this, funny enough, the other day when we were talking about EastEnders. I'm like, who owns the car lot now? And yeah, I forgot it was Jay. So it doesn't seem beyond the realms of possibility that Billy could quite easily get a key for the place. But then the question is, if he's sleeping in there, then how often is Jay going in there and using it? Like, who is selling cars at the moment? If Billy can kind of get himself out of there in the morning, presumably, if it's like any other business, it starts trade at like 9 a.m. or something, and then Billy's got to get out of there and get on the marketplace and pretend that he's been sleeping in this luxurious pad that he's claiming to all and sundry that he has.
Yeah.
Honestly, Billy. This is so typical of Billy, isn't it? Like, it's not even the ask for help, I'm not going to ask for help thing, I'm ashamed because I want my family to see that I'm capable. It's that he is not only doing all that, but he's also made up this complete cock and bull story about the fact that he's got this really kind of flash pad, that he's got a coffee bar and all sorts of other technology that I genuinely don't believe that Billy even knows what it is. Stuff that he's seen on other stores in the marketplace. They go, yeah, that's in my imaginary pad, I'll use that. But the thing with thing with Billy this week was with him and Terry, because we've got to see some more of Terry this week and seeing sort of some more of Terry's gift of the gab with just as a sort of side thing at the minute. I love how easy it is for Terry just to interact with different characters. He's slotted in so well, hasn't he? Like, he just fits in so perfectly. Really, Brian Connolly is a dream in this role. I absolutely love Terry.
Real pleasant surprise for Brian Connolly.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to watch him. Such a pleasure to watch him. Like, the character is just perfect. I absolutely love him. So there's the whole thing with Billy and Terry this week, and Terry's kind of watching Billy badly sell stuff on this stall that I had completely forgotten this stall existed. The stall of just tat that Billy tries to shift every single day of the week, and it's no wonder that guy's homeless, because he
gets it from the funeral parlour, doesn't he?
Yeah, I forgot about all of this.
Died, their houses get emptied. Yeah.
It's such a dreary job. Like, just I'm selling dead people's memorabilia, basically. It's lovely. And then Terry somehow manages to sell this pair of boxing gloves to this pair of women that don't look like they have a clue what to do with boxing gloves whatsoever. Do you notice? It'd be like literally like me walking down the marketplace. Yeah, I'll have them. Cheers. Yeah, perfect. They'll go great in my boxing ring that I've got in my garage. Perfect. So that was all going on. And basically the whole point of the week was that Billy was losing, effectively. I mean, Billy always loses, doesn't he, effectively? But it was him realising that he loses at every single opportunity. He can't even win a game of air football, or whatever the hell they call it, right? He can't sell things, he can't do this, he can't do that. And he now currently... What's it called? What's it called? It was something like that. Hover football?
You've mixed up air hockey
used another
with
name
table
for
football. Some Americans call it foosball, but it's table football.
I swear they used another name for it. I swear they used another name for it this week. They used some sort of name that implied that the football was floating. I'm sure they did. Why would the football float? I don't know. That's why I thought it was mad, because I was like, I'll challenge you to a game of air football. And I was like, what? What are they on about? And then they produced this table. Exactly. I was kind of like, since when did the Vic do virtual reality games? I didn't understand what was going on.
Can you imagine? Anyway. They corner off the centre side of the Vic, and they have these VR headsets, and you just see two characters doing this.
All of a sudden, EastEnders turns into the Jetsons.
Who's the housewife? The robot is Rosie. It Daisy or Rosie?
Rosie the robot. Yeah.
Rosie comes through the door.
PQ, sir. Thank you, sir. I love the Jetsons. I'll buy the rights to that as well if I win £1 million. Anyway, so basically, where do you think this is going then? How long is this kind of secret of Billy's going to be? Going to be a secret, effectively? How long, realistically, can Billy Mitchell keep up the pretense that he isn't homeless?
I mean, I don't think it'll last very long. I think Jay will be the one who spots him. Like you say, Jay works or owns the car lot, so he's going to walk. But there's going to be a time when Billy forgets to set his alarm and he's still there and Jay walks in. And it's all just boiling down to, isn't it, is that Billy thinks that he can say things that would impress Honey. And he still hasn't realised that nothing he will do or say will get Honey back anymore. It's a real shame for Billy. I really feel bad for Billy because like nothing at all seems to be like putting his gears in his head to say like Honey doesn't. It's like Honey doesn't love you anymore. That's the end of it. Nothing will get you back together again. And I just, when Billy had that storyline when he found like, you know, was it Janet's agent, like, and I actually was a bit hopeful that something good could have come from this, and I was a bit disappointed that it kind of just ended after the week where you found out that she wasn't giving Janet the same jobs or the same pay as everyone else. Billy needs someone else. And I think the one thing I would say is that it was nice that I thought the friendship between, it's very much a week of friendships maybe this week. I thought the friendship between Terry and Billy was nice seeing develop. Again, development of characters, a very much a character-driven story again. And I liked seeing them two getting together. I think that when Terry had that conversation with Billy outside the Vic, when Billy accused him of like faking, you know, deliberately, forfeiting the game so that he could give him the £20 note. It just, I don't know, it felt like that relationship was nice. So I'd actually would prefer it if Terry was the one who found out about Billy and that Terry was going to look after him. But I just think that Terry's route right now, no one really knows what Terry's there for right now. There's so many speculation throwing up in the air. It's like there was that cough, a month ago. There's still a lot of people saying that he's not really Terry. There was a line this week where he said that that Sonia still hasn't phoned her mum and told her that Terry's back. And he was like, oh, no, there's no rush. You don't need to let her know. So I thought that was interesting that Terry had mentioned that.
I didn't pick up on
like
that.
He's kind of convinced Sonia not to get in touch with her. And yeah, so, I mean, I as much as I like the friendship between Billy and Terry, I don't think it's going to evolve any more. But it was nice to see them two together. And perhaps in the future, once Terry's story does finally get, released, what Terry's actually there for. Because he can't just be there to kind of be the bants of the square and kind of fit in and have a relationship with Kathy. And I doubt it's just for a love triangle storyline between Kathy, Shirley and Terry. So, I mean, that's what I'm curious about too. But with Billy's story, I mean, it's a sad story, but it's just Billy being Billy. It's like, it's almost stock Billy story, isn't it? Like Billy yet again has lied, made up like he's got, like you say, his Tassimo corner in his house where he just has loads of pods on the walls and he just kind of goes, I'm going to have one of them today. And like, so. But how do you feel about Billy? Do you feel like Billy's just like, it's almost like he's had all the hard luck he can have? Can he have any more?
I mean, yeah, he's Billy Mitchell. If anything bad luck is going to happen, it's just, I think, the word downtrodden always comes to mind when you think of Billy, doesn't it? And it frankly amazes me that we haven't got round to a Billy being homeless storyline before, because he is literally just the sort of fodder that you could throw that sort of storyline at, isn't he? Bless him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's either going to be Terry or... The thing is, I feel like it would be better... I know what you mean about Terry finding out and all that sort of thing, and that would be nice to see. But I do I would prefer Jay to sort of find the secret out, because then you've got that sort of... the drama of, Billy forcing him to keep it a secret from Honey, blah, 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 blah. So you've got to... You know what I mean? You've got all that. But it's unpredictable, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, because it's been a very long time since Billy's had anything significant to do, really, in the grand scheme of things. So for him to, I was amazed that maybe he got his first duff in years, I think, on Friday. So it's gonna. Good to see where it's gonna go. I'm excited.
Fair enough. One little story. It was the main story last week. It kind of is just plodded along this week, which is the Nancy, Zack, and Frankie story, because Nancy's out of hospital now, and Zack was a bit concerned for Nancy, and also it's, he's got a very kind heart. He wants to make sure Nancy's okay. Nancy's feeling a bit down in the dumps because she got her acceptance letter to doing the weightlifting competition. Sorry, can I just quickly put a brakes on that for a second and just say, does it feel a bit weird that like Nancy's like wants to do weight training. Does it feel a little bit like it just came from nowhere? That Nancy likes weight training.
They're slowly turning Nancy into Bluto off Popeye. I don't quite understand what the direction they're taking Nancy in at the minute. Like she's some bodybuilding, like raw Nancy smash. So I know exactly what you mean. It's quite random. It's just something to add to the gym, really, isn't it? Because I swear to God, Nancy wasn't ever this. I mean, I suppose you could argue that Nancy, especially in her first era, we've not, she was all, sort of tracksuits and trainers and all that sort of thing. So I suppose you could sort of argue that you could sort of see her being into sports and all that sort of thing. But you're right. It's just for her to suddenly turn around and be a bodybuilder and, downing protein shakes and all of that sort of thing. It's quite odd, but also kind of weirdly suits her as well. I don't mind it. Go on. Anyway, well, let's get on to Zack being naked. Carry on.
Well, I just thought I didn't know if I was alone. That perhaps it's never. I just didn't know if I was alone. If that kind of just came out of left field a little bit. But okay, I'm glad I'm not.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
No.
But there was a scene this week where, as soon as it happened, I thought of you, Rob. My mind went straight to you. I thought Rob's got this on Sky Plus, slow motion. It's constantly being played on a mental loop in his head, and if not on his television at home. And that is Zack walking into the living room in just an apron, and presumably bending over in front of Nancy, which is not something you kind of want to do on maybe your first, second date, but still. Nancy enjoyed it. So yeah. So what do you think? Do you think Zack's wrong to...
No, I don't think. That's half my problem. I don't think whatsoever. Stuff just falls out of my mouth. I don't think at all. Go on.
Clearly you're on the right podcast then, because we're both in the same boat.
Where's Kierat's naked shelf scene?
Don't. I'm waiting for that. It's going to come.
It's going to
come. It will come.
Stop it. Carry on. Move on.
Do you think Zack's wrong to string Nancy along like this? Do you think he's being a bit unfair?
The thing is...
I mean, I like the relationship between them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think that he is trying to completely separate the two issues, isn't he? Like, yes, we ran over Nancy when I was drunk and Frankie, and that shouldn't have happened. But at the same time, I really fancy Nancy, so I'm going to make her laugh and get naked in front of her, and she clearly fancies me, so great, blah, 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 and we're never going to have to deal with the whole sort of thing if we nearly killed her. That's fine. That's never going to come up at all. So I genuinely think it's as simple as that in his head. He's kind of looking at Frankie going, what's your problem? What are you whinging about? It's all done, isn't it? She's alive. What's the problem? And I'm going to sleep with her. It's all great. Don't worry about it. So I do think that that's sort of, it's as simple as that in Zack's head. So he's going to get a mighty shock when it eventually comes around and bites him on the bum.
Yeah, I did. Frankie almost said something this week to Nancy as well, but she kind of held back and stopped herself. Like I say, this is a very much kind of like a story that EastEnders is good at, and that is that there's a secret, a relationship is based on this secret, kind of, and where are we going to head with that? I just think it's a shame. But again, the ensemble of Nancy, Frankie, and Zack, the acting between them, I don't know, they just feel really perfect. That bubble is really a nice little bubble there, and
it's a nice little threesome, isn't it? Like a good little. It's a nice little character group. So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
More of that to come, I'm very sure.
Yes.
So that's it. There we go. We've summed up the week.
There you go.
We're going to go now to I Ain't One to Gossip, where we're going to talk about a certain storyline that might be happening in the future of the show and what it might mean to an actress.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So this week, a news article came out in the Sun newspaper saying that Emily Attack's mum, Kate Robbins, has landed a role on EastEnders where she's playing a music producer called Jen. Now, first of all, that kind of makes your mind wonder, music producer? Could this be something to do with a talent scout, or maybe something to do with Billy and Honey again? Perhaps something along those lines? But no. Oh no, it's basically a story where Whitney is... Sorry, Whitney has a fledgling pop career, apparently, and that this character is coming into the square to help put an impact into her career so that she can build it back up again. Now,
Okay.
Where the heck did that come from? Like, wow. Like, that's new.
I couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
Last time we saw Whitney, she was massively grieving Kush and was nearly getting herself into a relationship with Gray, and all of that was going on. And then we haven't seen Whitney for ages, and all of a sudden she's been completely dropped from that storyline, and now she wants to be a pop star. Also, this woman coming in to play this part, did she not play Karen's lesbian lover for a little while? Or am I getting completely confused?
No, that was her sister. That was her sister. Her sister played.
I didn't know there was another one.
So, yes.
I thought there was literally just her.
Not another one.
These two could have been like doing interviews over the years on like Loose Women or at the news or anything like that, and I could have been looking at two completely separate people and never realising it. I did not know that she had a sister.
Possibly.
Is that a twin sister? Sister? I had no idea.
I can't say I'm entirely sure. I don't.
Well, they look alike.
I don't really follow that family tree.
They look the same.
Although Keeping Up the Kardashians spin-off sounds like it's ready and raring to go on BBC Three, doesn't it?
If there isn't a line that Karen goes up and goes, "All right, darling, me and you had some times, didn't we?" And she looks at Karen and goes, "Who the hell are you?" Like, if that doesn't happen, I should be bitterly disappointed.
All right, well, there we go, BBC writers. Keep that one in mind if you want to keep Rob on side.
Have that on me.
But the thing is, that's also interesting about this. Have it for free. The other thing that's quite interesting about this is that in 2015, that's right, we've been digging out articles. There was a story in the Mirror. Now, this was only a rumour, but don't forget, I Ain't Want to Gossip is a rumour kind of part as well. So we kind of discussed the rumours that are kind of spreading around. But Shona McCarthy was asked to sing on an episode of EastEnders during Mick and Linda's wedding. And she said no because she would consider it cheesy. Now, what has happened then? Does this mean that Shona has kind of changed her mind? Is she interested in doing kind of singing on the show? I mean, to say that this is out of the realms of what EastEnders would do is a bit daft, because don't forget that Sharon and Ian had a band back in '86 called The Band. They've done kind of stories like this before. So I mean, I'm not saying this is stupid, they shouldn't do stories like this, because no, it's fine. I don't mind doing a story like this. It's come out of nowhere. But also, what's happened? What made Shona McCarthy, because she's always shown no interest in kind of like mixing her music talent with her acting talent on the show. So what's happened? What's caused this now to happen? And are we going to have like the old era of the 90s where all these actors on the show are going to start having music careers? Because Sid Owen had a wonderful reggae career at one point, so who else could have a good music career coming out on the show right now?
I mean, it's just absolute madness, absolute nonsense from start to finish. This will be. I couldn't even begin to imagine what hole they're going to pull this storyline out of to get it started. I genuinely haven't got a clue. I wonder if it's going to have something to do with us kicking off about like all the music and everything. You know how we've said that he, how all this incidental music keeps coming out of nowhere. And I once said, I don't mind it if music is coming out of a radio, as if, the music being in the scene. I wonder if they're literally just going to have like Whitney singing in the background so that they can do a scene where Whitney's singing a song and then they can play some drama scene over it. Just for us, just so I can't kick off about it. It's just shut me up. I wouldn't put it past them for a second. I bet that's what they're doing. That's my guess.
To be fair, they did that when Lofty and Michelle were having their troubles, and Wixie, they started singing "Every Loser Wins" on the piano when you saw these shots of them two both looking at each other going. So I think you're right. I think they're going to use Whitney as incidental music from now on. Every now and then you're just going to see Whitney in the background, like right in the background, like standing there singing. This is your moment. when like a romantic moment's happening.
Whoa, but
she has to sing.
Yeah, you wait till Ballum has another argument. We're going to have a fading of Whitney all by myself. Ben leaning against the window with rain pouring down off it. It's going to be beautiful, and I'm not going to be able to say a single word about it. Yeah. Which is, honest to God. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I think. Other than that,
right.
I have zero idea.
That's their plan.
There you go. That's good. It's the only thing that makes any sense at this stage, because Whitney wants to be a pop star. Okay, then, EastEnders, why not? Sure.
Why not? Why
Who
not?
knows?
I mean, They've done a lot of other things in recent history, so they might as well just give this one a go. I mean, I am looking forward to it. To be honest with you, I think if it's done in the kind of tongue-in-cheek way that it seems to be happening, then I'm fine with it. It just seems to like what fledgling pop career did Whitney have from the time she came on the show and she was being abused to now? When did this pop career start? You know, I don't remember a pop career in that time scale.
Off screen, Alex. That's when it happened.
Well, yeah. Of course.
God knows.
But
God knows.
Terry's got his hand on it as well. It's another one of Terry's friends. So that's another, another in from Terry.
So literally, Terry's just there, so they can have all sorts of celebrity guests, and it's going to be mad. Yeah. It's going to be absolutely mad. But hey, I mean, to be fair though, we said this about the Harry Redknapp story, and we said it was stupid. We said it didn't make any sense. It said it was ridiculous, but as it turned out, it was fine, and we enjoyed it. So I think we should learn. Just to reserve our judgments and, climb off our high horses just every once in a while and just see how a storyline plays out before we get all indignant about it. Nah, it's not what you tuned in for,
and if it plays out badly... No, but then if it plays out badly, we can then be horrible. Not horrible, critique. Yeah. We can critique it.
Never horrible. Never horrible.
No, we're never horrible. Never horrible. That should be our tagline. No. Never horrible.
Never horrible. Just irritating.
The Walford Weekly Podcast. Yeah. Never horrible. Just irritating. The Walford Weekly Podcast. I like that. That's a good idea.
And talking of the Walford Weekly Podcast, you can contact us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell for all of the videos that are coming and are always being posted every single week. You can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify or any of your favourite podcast sites. And as we've said, you can email each of us on alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com or on robwalfordweekly@gmail.com. We'll be back next week. I don't know what that was. We'll be back next week. And until then, we will see you soon. From both of me and Alex, goodbye.